Yeah, hey there, Michaelo. Hey, Logan. So I'm sending this next set of instructions, and this relates to building the flipbook animations for each of the properties. I will be sending a zip file that'll unpack into this set of files here. It'll be called profiles, and in here is one Excel file and then folders for each of the properties. So the goal of this will be to create the other peripheral items that are on each one of the flipbook slides. So you've been working on the side-by-side maps, which is the main item, and then if you recall from some of those previous flipbooks that we've created, there will be the hydrograph on the right-hand side that'll have the line that progresses across date by date as each frame is flipped. And then at the bottom now, I'd like to have cross-sectional profiles. That is a representative east to west line that crosses the property, that we can show how deep the water's getting, not just as the maps do show the spatial extent of the water that's on the landscape. And so when I've talked to Michaelo, you said you had access to Adobe Illustrator. That's the software we'll use to make the cross-sectional profiles for each one of the frames. Logan, if you don't have access to Illustrator this summer, then what I'd suggest is maybe the two of you could divvy up the work in such a way that you can do the hydrographs, and then maybe Michaelo can do the cross-sectional profiles. So let me show you a little bit about the data that we have here. So if you open up the cross-section profile data, this file, this is the arrangement of it. There is a tab in here for each of the properties. It turns out that when it comes to these elevations on each of these dates, the Claiborne School District and the Davis Island Land Company are so close in proximity, they really will use the exact same data for this. So that's why I've grouped those two together. Likewise, Oakwood and Geronimo are so close to each other, they can use the same one. But then beyond that, we have the Adams County School District, Kelly Williams property, Wilkinson School District, Woodside, and Jackson. Each one of those will get their own. So one other thing that I want to mention real quick here is that there's some kind of a flaw that's happening that I discovered through building at least an initial one of these hydrographs. It looks like we're having a problem with Woodside and Jackson for some reason. So what I'm going to do is have you hold off. I need to do some troubleshooting on Woodside and Jackson, but for all the others, we will have you go ahead and proceed. Okay, so rather than using a generic hydrograph, I'd like to have you generate a hydrograph that's specific to each one of these. So maybe, again, this might be Logan doing this part of the work here. What this will involve is creating for each date, that moving down this, each one of the every 4 days date, so that the November 20th, 24th, 28th, and so forth. What I'm going to have you do is just move this bar over, and then you can just simply take a screenshot. So for the 20th, move the bar down, and if you hold down the Shift key, it will ensure that the line is a straight up and down line on here. So you can move it to there. Move your cursor away. Try to have that line up as close as possible to the on the 20th itself. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little closer to get that just a little bit better. But you can see there's a little dash that represents each one of those dates. So it's easy to line that up. And again, on the y-axis here, there's actually a dash for each and every foot on there. But again, what I'd like to have you do is line this bar up with the darker blue line, the solid line, the higher one, and then move that along. So there's a couple different ways to export this out. I think probably the easiest way will be to use the snipping tool. And so for that purpose, you'd want to be zoomed out so you can see the entire figure for this. I'm having to limit my screen size because of this screen recording software. Then the next thing you want to do is make sure there's no handles. You don't want any handles on the line itself, nor handles around the edges here. And I just bumped that over a little bit. I'll move it back. So now that I have no handles around it, I'm just going to type in here the snipping tool. You're probably familiar with this one. And I'll do a new snip. And what I'd like to do for this is just simply come right in here and grab the whole thing. Something like that. And what's going to be really important is that you're always consistent about, because this will kind of jump around. So I would just do this, Logan. I would take it to be as close as possible to that outside edge of the box. Or any which way you do it, if you come in a little bit further, just make sure you're consistent each time with trying to snip out the exact same extent. All right, so I'm going to take it to there. Once you have it here, you'll just hit save. This is in the Claiborne. Let's see, do I have that right? Yeah, this is the Claiborne one. And so what I'd suggest is making a new, and I'll make these folders in here, but there'll be a folder in here for hydrographs. So think about it this way, there will be a folder for hydrographs, there'll be another folder in a subfolder for the cross-sectional profiles, and then what you guys are making right now are another subfolder that'll have the images for the extent, the mapping itself. So for this then, this will be, you could call it that same name. This will be the Claiborne. And then this will be for November. I guess so that they all line up properly. Let's do year, month, day. So that way when you sort them, it'll go in order. So this will be 2015. And then that's year, then month, underscore. And then that particular day was the 20th. And that should go into this hydrographs one, Claiborne. Okay. So then if you just minimize this instead of close it completely out, now when you go to make the next one here, what I'll do again is zoom in to get this right, and then I'll zoom back out to do my capture of it. So I'm going to grab that bar, move it over. A little bit tedious. I wish there was a way to automate this, but I cannot think of one. Hold down the shift key so you can make a straight vertical line up so it touches the blue bar. And then we'll zoom back out. I'll always zoom out to the same extent here. It looks like, I forgot if I was on 80 or 90 last time. It looks like I must have been on 80. So I'm going to delete these, Logan, but I'll have you do it. You'll have a bigger screen you can work with probably. And so you could be zoomed into, closer to 100%. Always zoom back to that exact same extent because this is important for getting these snips to be the same. And then I'll take it to be the same size there. This is going to be for the 24th. So I'll hit save on this. I can just click on this one, and then all I have to do is come in here and change the name to be the 24th. Alright, so just move that over by one. Again, continue on down till you make a frame, a hydrograph frame for each and every date that's on there. Alright, again, like I said, if you minimize this, then it'll remember the last place that you had saved it, and that saves a little bit of time rather than having to browse. So when you get done with that one, please go to the Oakwood Geronimo, build frames for those. Remember that actually the ones you were building for Claiborne were also valid for Davis Island. So really that set of however many that turns out to be, it looks like 56 of them or so, that will be valid for both Claiborne and Davis Island. When you build the one for Oakwood and Geronimo, it'll be valid for both of those. But then you'll be building a specific one for Adams County School District and so forth. So in the end, for that part, there will just be this hydrograph folder, and then there'll be the 50-some hydrographs in there, which then when we build that final flipbook will be just imported directly into the right spot for, in this case, both the Claiborne and for the Davis Island one. Alright, so that's the instructions for the hydrographs part. Next I will record a separate short little video dealing with the cross-sectional profiles and how to build those up. Certainly, Logan, if you have any questions about that, reach out by text, email, give me a call, and we can get those questions addressed. Thanks for your good work.